I'm Christina,
I'm Emilio.
and we're the Joy of Arizona team at North & Co.
Awesome.
And today we're going to be talking about Atomic Habits, just chapter 1, very much book club style. And in true Christina fashion, I've already prepared some notes to make sure
Typed out
we
too.
talk about the good stuff.
I love it.
Yeah. So what do you think so far about chapter 1?
So, I mean, I like the idea. So, a favorite thing for me is like being able to explain the science behind stuff.
Mm,
Because it helps me understand it. Like even one of my favorite movies, even though it's completely fake, they like made a scientific reason of how it could happen. And I like loved it. So like being able to understand like the science behind it, I
mm-hmm.
think something that was like, oh my god, immediately I'm like, okay, 1%, like what's something different I could do every day, even if it's just like picking up a little bit more trash or cleaning in the apartment or something like that.
Yeah.
Like changed my mindset a lot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how like I felt
Yeah.
after starting.
Great. And I have to ask, what's the movie?
Age of Adeline.
I don't know
Um,
it.
it's a Blake Lively movie.
Okay. I
It's a
love
rom
her.
com.
Okay.
It's not even like a rom com. It's more of just like a
Oh,
rom.
wait a minute. I did see Age of Adeline. Yes, and it was a great movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
where like she gets in an accident and freezes and she never ages.
Yep.
For some reason, the fact that they like explain that actually like
Mm-hmm.
made me love the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just
Nice.
one of those things.
No, that's
But
cool.
yeah, kind
Yeah.
of a guilty pleasure for me.
Yeah. 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 So the 1% better was for me the overall theme of
Hmm.
chapter 1. Um, I also found that interesting. So he talks about going to the gym. For me, this was the most relatable thing in there. You go to the gym for a week and you don't see any results, and you can't help but feeling like it's not
Hmm.
working or it's not going to work.
Right.
And I've for sure been guilty of that feeling and probably, maybe giving up on it a little bit, going really strong and then giving up on it a little bit.
Hmm.
So I like the idea of 1% of improvement will, over time become a habit and then have this compounding effect. Because he talks about the compounding effect, which I
Yeah,
definitely related to.
I felt like really kind of seen in that
Mhm.
moment.
Mhm.
It's like I feel like so much of life is you're constantly trying to get somewhere and you don't see it for a long time, and that's like hard for me. Like I very much dive into something really really fast, and I get good enough at it or I get bored or like I just feel like it's not happening and I get frustrated.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like definitely see that in the gym. Doing something as new as like CrossFit to me was
Mhm.
like, holy crap, I don't know if I can do this. And it
Yeah.
was a lot of like, I had to scale everything. And now I've been able to do something. I can't do everything, but it took what? Now it's like a year and a half that
Mhm.
I've been able to get something with
Mhm.
like just some weight on it and do
Yeah.
it correctly and not hurt
Yeah.
myself. Like, okay, it does take time. It's
Sure.
just patience. And,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
I think that's the other aspect of it is having the patience while you're doing it.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, so okay, on that, probably one of my favorite things of this, he talks about people having this idea of having breakthrough moments or like overnight success, but that in reality, most of the time, it's really not overnight success. It's been habits that have been building up for months, years,
Hmm.
that then eventually become what feels like an overnight success. Do you remember the description he gave of the ice cube?
Yes,
So
yeah.
this was really cool. So the ice cube, you take it out of the freezer, you put it on the table, and it's 27 degrees in the room. It doesn't do anything, right?
Hmm.
28, the room's warming up slowly. 28, nothing. 29, nothing. 30, 31, 32, the ice begins to melt. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it does seem like that's a snap in time, but it did take time for the room to start warming up. And
Hmm.
so it was preparing for that,
Yeah.
And I think about how often, somebody will say like, "Oh, I'm so unlucky," or "I'm so lucky." And I've always said luck is like I don't really believe in luck. I do
Mm.
think that we are a result of our actions, but I just think there's these little things that you do. He also talks about the double-edged sword,
Hmm.
good or bad. I mean, if you have bad habits, they're also going to
Right.
negatively affect you. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Definitely like your environment for sure. Like just constantly going. It's a quote that's always stuck with me from just one of my past mentors.
Hmm.
It was, "I'm a 20-year overnight success,"
Oh, I like that.
and it was like it seems like I just kind of sprung out here and
Yeah,
was doing something, but you don't know what was happening for 20 years before that.
that's so good. Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yep, awesome. Okay,
Okay, you got a
let's
lot of
see.
notes. What do you
I
got?
do. Let's see. What else have I got here? Okay, so he talks about compounding productivity with automation or just mastering a task or something that you do. And I thought, you know, this is so good because he talks about the mastering piece of it. If you master something, so you're able to do it without much brain power, you don't have to really think too much about what you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, Now you have time to use your brain power on something else. So that for me was big. And I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about just kind of in that section, did that make you think of anything that you're maybe already doing or that you want to do, where you either want to add mastery to something or add some form of automation to?
Yeah, so kind of one of the things for me that like makes it the thing that was hard for me to grasp is like systems being just like things you do. Um, it's as I'm reading it more, it's kind of set in of like, oh, okay, like I kind of understand. So like one of them is being as I'm planning like my open houses, being consistent in like the day that I do my like select the open house and get everything ready for it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's its own little system.
Yeah.
Like Mondays at this time, I find the one I want, I contact agents, I get my signs requested, I have everything mapped out.
Yeah.
It's like bam, it's done, and that's just like a consistent thing.
Yeah.
Um, like I would love to automate that, and that's how I usually think of systems. Is like, oh, I'm like I run something and it happens, and then it's done. Instead of me
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, just checking off the to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's kind of one of the first things is like doing almost like setting a little schedule for myself just to prepare me for what I'm gonna do later. Because it's easy to be like, okay, open house is at this time, and I'm just gonna show up.
Yeah.
It's like doing that consistently, because every day is like a little different.
Yeah.
You know, some days or some weeks I pick way later or whatever. So I think that's one of like the main things I kind of want to do.
Yeah.
What
Good.
about you?
So for me, I was thinking about something that's partially in motion but not completed, and it's using Asana as a kind of a project management. Give me all the, let me not go from memory on everything that needs to happen during a
Hmm.
transaction. Let me just literally check things off and have a cute little rainbow go across my screen and tell me that it's been done.
Yeah.
But also in conjunction with some templated emails, which I would never just send as complete automatic template emails, but it is really, I mean, there's multiple things that we send out to our clients during every transaction. Congratulations, you're under contract. Here's the next few steps. Here's, the top 3 inspectors that I like to use. Rather than going back and retyping those up every single time,
Hmm.
I've just kind of got this template, and Gmail's great because you can save the template. I'm not like pulling a Word document and copying and pasting or anything like that. So it adds, and there's always little changes like, you know, uh, obviously the names, but things like, here's your time periods, here's your
Hmm.
deadlines, so there's
Right.
going to be some things that are specific, and that's why it's not completely automated, but it is definitely nice to be able to just
It's
shoot those things
thoughtless,
out.
at
Yeah,
least.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I can be sure I'm sending the same thing to every client.
Hmm.
So I'm not missing any details. So I like it for that too.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was a quote that I really liked. And I'm just gonna read it and we can chat about it. But I like loved this quote. They said this quote was in the San Antonio Spurs locker room. It says, "When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it yet. Yet at the 101st blow, it'll split in two, and I know it was not the last blow that did it, but all that had gone before." I mean, it just right back onto what we've been talking about is the
Hmm.
20-year overnight success,
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's so much work that goes into things that kind of goes unseen. And then when it finally works out, you have a tendency to think, oh, well, I finally figured it out. No, you didn't. You figured it out all along. You've been doing the right thing all this time. And it's, built up and now it's working.